Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the FPL Grandmaster and I'll hopefully be doing regular uploads every game week to help you guys out with your teams and going through my team, which is in a bit of a mess at the moment, hasn't been doing very well. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to jump right into the game week 19 review. So as you can see here, we've got the team, as you can see, 37 points this game week. Not the worst given it was quite a low scoring game week. Haaland obviously blanked. I made the gutsy call to go for Cunha as my captain, which backfired, and I was really worried going into Thursday because I thought the inevitable was about to strike me with Haaland going on to score, but that didn't end up happening. Instead, it was quite a boring 0-0 in the end between the two teams. Sunderland at home are just very tough to break down, a very resilient team, which is kind of why I thought I'd go against Haaland in the first place. So I guess looking with a bit of hindsight now, it wasn't the wrong decision. It's just Manchester United are very unreliable, and you can't really trust that team to deliver. If sometimes they do, sometimes, you have a game against bottom of the league Wolves and they've given them the third point. Not much you can really do about that. I brought in Dorgu as well in game week 19 to try and attack that fixture. Obviously, no clean sheet for me there. So, very frustrating. The only player that I guess did quite well was Bruno Guimaraes, who managed to score a goal and he got all three bonus, I believe. Yes, he did. Which I mean, I guess his XG has been quite low, I believe. He's never too high on the XG, but he's been doing all right in recent game weeks. He's had a couple blanks in the previous three before the Burnley game, but he's been okay, and I don't mind having someone in there. It's a bit like that to kind of try and attack and get up the ranks, but obviously not been going too well for me. Mukiele on the bench as well. Not someone I was ever really going to play against City at home anyway, so not too frustrated about that, but definitely a lot of work to do with this team, especially if I want to finally get a green arrow. As I said, 8 consecutive game weeks without a green arrow going down each week. I was doing well at the start of the season, used all my chips basically, so that went quite well, and then ever since then it's just been a slow but steady decline, really. We'll now go into my team for the following week, which is just here. So right now, this is how I'd probably set up if I wasn't going to make any transfers. Happy to play Dubravka in goal instead of Sanchez. I think there's probably, I mean, to be honest, City will probably pepper the Chelsea goal anyway. So probably save points for both of them, but Dubravka probably has a slightly better chance at a clean sheet, so I'm happy to take on that risk. Outside of that, Dorgu kind of got to give him the rest of the two games now before I probably try and get rid of him, or maybe just keep him to the bench. Saliba, he's consistent. He plays 90 minutes most weeks, probably the least rotation risk outside of Raya in the Arsenal defense. So happy to keep him in. Mukiele, I'm quite happy to play him away to Tottenham. Spurs have been a bit dodgy recently, and I think I can trust him to have a fair chance at a clean sheet. I probably won't expect it, but I think he's got a fair chance of one away to Spurs. And then going into the midfield, we've got the five midfielders, same as last week, of course. Bruno at home to Palace. Palace are quite a tough team to play, but I trust that Bruno at home is quite good. I'm probably not likely to see a return from him this week, I don't think, but there's always an outside chance. Cunha away to Leeds. Not sure how that'll go. I mean, it should go okay, but Leeds have been decent. Of course, holding Liverpool to a 0-0 draw just the other night. So, not sure how that's going to go again, but I think with these United assets, you've kind of just got to keep the faith for the next two games, and then you reassess it after that when the fixtures start to turn a little bit. Then Saka, I've got captaincy on currently. Haaland at home to Chelsea, obviously with the Maresca situation. probably makes him a slightly better captain than he was before. And Chelsea's defense have been a bit leaky with goals recently, but looking to chase the upside. And I think Bournemouth have been quite similar in not being super good in defense recently. I think with Arsenal, it's always just an issue of the points are often quite shared. So even if they put a few past Bournemouth, you can't trust Saka to be too involved with the points there. But I'm willing to take on the risk this game week and see how it goes. Foden, I think, has a good chance against that Chelsea defense, just like Haaland does. Grealish against Brentford at home. I think Grealish has been playing quite well. He was obviously sick recently, came off the bench in the last game for Everton, and he played all right, I thought. So I'm happy to trust him. He's a bit of a differential at the moment. I don't think his ownership's too high. Yeah, just at 9.5%. So if he returns, that will probably help me with the ranks a little bit. Then Igor Thiago, I know he's a bit of a doubt every week now because Andrews, I believe, has said quite a few times that he's been nursing a bit of an injury and he's still been playing anyway, but he has been too good in the last few. Got an assist against Bournemouth, but outside of that, hasn't been great since the Burnley game in game week 13. So a lot to consider there, really. I think in terms of transfers this week, if I was going to make any, probably just be the one. And the two options I'm considering is probably Thiago to Bowen, who's got decent fixtures. I am a West Ham fan as well, so that might be slightly biased. But yeah, Wolves, Forest, Spurs, Sunderland, Chelsea, the next five don't look too bad to me. Spurs are a bit dodgy anyway, so I'm happy with that. And Wolves and Forest, those are both fairly decent fixtures, so I would be willing to take a bit of a gamble on Bowen. He's probably one of the better forwards in the game at the moment anyway. So that's one way I could go. The other transfer is probably Lacroix to Gabriel. Gabriel's price is probably going to skyrocket quite soon. So getting on him soon is probably ideal if you can. But obviously, Bournemouth and Liverpool in the next two for Arsenal. So not maybe the most necessary transfer, but if you want to save team value, it's probably where you go. And finally, just quickly have a look at a potential wildcard draft I'm looking at. Now, I should probably mention this is based on my team value. So this it might differ for you whether you can afford this team or not. But for my team, this is a wild card I'd probably look at this week. I have actually been considering taking a wild card. Ultimately, I think I'll opt against it just because it feels a bit too sudden, want a bit more information, and I think the Chelsea fixture swings they start at about game week 22. So I think that's maybe a better time to go for the wild card. Of course, with the Rice starts as well, that's another thing to consider. I probably want to maybe look at Rice later on as a potential replacement for Saka, if not Cole Palmer himself. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of this wild card, goalkeepers would probably be the same. Don't really see any need to replace Sanchez or Dubravka. I think both of them are good options for their price point. The Chelsea defense is probably a defense to target, obviously, with the fixture swings upcoming. Then double Arsenal defense, I think, is fine. Timber and Gabriel both have decent attacking potential as well. Saliba's good for the clean sheets and probably is more nailed, especially right now for minutes. But I think both Gabriel and Timber, with the attacking potential, there's just a lot more upside with them. Then Van Hecker for Brighton, they've got decent fixtures too. It's kind of even if I wanted to bench him each week, I wouldn't feel too bad about it because he's only 4.5 million. Tarkowski, Everton have got decent fixtures, so happy to target those. And he's kept clean sheets in his last two now. So yeah, he looks good, and he's always got the outside shot for a header from a corner. So there's a bit of attacking potential there too. Mukiele, good budget option. I think he enables you to go for quite a few, like maybe higher price players just because he's only 4.2 million. So that would complete the defense for me in a wildcard draft this week. And Saka, I think it's helpful to have him just if you do want to make the switch to Palmer later on, or if you want to downgrade to Rice, that's also an option as well. I don't really think there's really too much in it between the two, and I think if you're not going to go for Palmer and you still want an Arsenal attacker, I think Rice is fine and he enables you to make other transfers. Morgan Rogers looks quite good as well. Villa's fixtures, I think they're starting to turn now with this Forest game. So that's somewhere I'd look to. I'm just not sure about Ollie Watkins in terms of rotation with Marlon. That's probably why I wouldn't go there. But I think Rogers is a little bit more nailed and he's got decent attacking potential too. Grealish, I could get rid of him, but I do think he's been playing all right, and I think he's got decent potential for assists, and he can chip in with the odd goal too. So I'm happy to take a bit of a punt there. Cunha, I think it's just a case of again, he's got two good fixtures upcoming now. And you can make a transfer afterwards, maybe where you switch him to someone else. So I think I'm happy to keep the faith there. Then Paqueta 5.9, I think he's quite decent value. The fixtures for West Ham look good, and he is the first choice penalty taker. So there's a lot to keep in mind there. And then similarly with Bowen, he's not the penalty taker, but the fixtures look quite good for West Ham. They haven't been great, admittedly, but they both scored in the last game, and I think Wolves away might be a bit tough, but there's always a good chance, I think, of them. I mean, at least getting a penalty, or I think at least between them, one of them would score a goal or get an assist at minimum. And I think in terms of forwards, there's not really much to look at the moment. There's maybe Ekatike, but he's quite expensive. So if you want two forwards, because I know a lot of people might just go for Haaland at this point and go to 4-5-1, but if you want to stick to a 3-5-2, I think Bowen's probably the best second striker to have right now. And finally, Mane, he's been starting recently. He looks quite energetic. Maybe he's the type of player who somewhere down the line you could see him start to get a few returns here and there. But I think he's a good bench option anyway. A good fixture this week. Maybe you could play him even, but probably wouldn't do that myself. And finally, Erling Haaland. You just have to have him. I think it's just a non-negotiable. Him and Gabriel, I think, are two that just every team is gonna have, really. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Tried to keep it as succinct and brief as possible. Just get through the main points and everything. Do let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. And yeah, please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. It all helps. Just trying to figure this out really first time doing this sort of thing with fantasy football. So yeah, see you in the next one.